I'm the managing director of learning and development, so my role is not sales, so don't ask me about pricing and stuff. I'm involved in teaching, so I know what's nice about what I've learned, and this is our first DTF show as SAi. We're involved a lot in the sign business, in the routing business. We have software for all those kinds of things. But what I'm learning from you is there's a lot of learning needs to go on here. So I hope that this presentation is going to help you. I know I kind of previewed it to a couple of people and they're like, wow, this is great. So I hope you enjoy it. It's going to be a fun one to do. So I want to show you some samples of some really great artwork. This is some of the stuff that we see from time to time. A lot of it can come from a customer, right? So they go out on Google and get that illegal drawing that they've downloaded and they right-click on it and save it, and it's like 72 pixels per inch, and they want it printed bigger, and you know the problems. I actually got this from a customer. It's a napkin, and they wanted it to vectorize it, right? Trace it to make it vector artwork and print it. That's just impossible. I got this from a customer. That customer wanted it nice and bright, and you can see that it's kind of realistic. It's not really pop, no color pop. This is a typical photograph, right, with issues and stuff. Now, I want to set this up because this is the kind of artwork we sometimes deal with. It's nice to get great artwork, and there's some good ones out there, but we have to also deal with other things like transparencies, right? We have to deal with controlling the white ink. Maybe we want to put halftones in an image because we want to, back off the feel of the shirt and that kind of thing if you're doing shirts. And more importantly, what I'm involved with is getting help. Who do you ask for help? So I'm going to talk about that too right at the end of the presentation. I think you'll appreciate that. So people I'm sure here are using probably Adobe, right? Corel. Maybe you're going to some of the Canva sites or whatever, using that. That's all fine. Those are great programs. What I want to show you though is that, and I appreciate your discussion on pricing and so forth, is that there's really no one tool that's going to do everything. Okay, we don't do it all. I still use Photoshop and those kind of things too, but there's a set of tools I'm going to show you that I think you should know about that's going to really help you. And you can use it with or without the Flexi program that I'm showing. You can use it with other programs. So I hope that you'll appreciate these things. So let's talk about, first of all, these bad artwork here. So I'm going to work with the fish first, right? So that old problem, right, where it's real jagged on the edges and there's issues. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this program, and I'm going to just open up the fish here. So there it rides. So like any program, this is a 2.5 inch by 2.5 inch fish, and it's 72 pixels per inch, so we know it's something that somebody copied and pasted and sent to you in the email. So I always used to joke about this in my training classes. It's like, if a customer says, I'll email you the artwork, you already know there's going to probably be some issues, right? So fine. So some programs, Illustrator does this, all that, so does Flexi. But I like the way this works. We have a number of different kinds of tracing routines here. I'm just going to choose the one called Bezier. It's going to trace it, and then we'll go to that. So one of the things you want to watch is when you're choosing a program for vectorizing, concentrate on ones that work without a lot of sliders and without a lot of adjustment. Try to find something that's going to just work as quickly as possible. This is vectored artwork right now. I can go in there and edit this. And the other thing you kind of have to watch out for are these points. There's not a lot of points in there. And that's also good because that more artwork, vector artwork that has a lot of points just starts to confuse drivers on machines and all that. So get artwork that you can work with easily and tracing that you can work with easily. Okay, so that's called Flexi. And that's what I showed you on tracing. Now, there's programs out there, there's issues out there with artwork when you start getting into color. All right, so the guy on the left is original artwork. It's about the same size as that fish, about that big, and it's 72 pixels per inch, okay? The one on the right is pretty close to perfect, don't you think? Okay, so I'm going to show you this program. Is called Vector Magic, okay? And if you're not familiar with this, you need to be. It is an awesome program. It only does one thing, because it's a tool. So what I'm going to do is open up that file. Let's see if I can find it on my desktop here. There we go. There's my file. You can see how it looks, right? Big green button. I like about this, you click on the big green button and it's done, right? So this program took this little tiny thing that was really terrible artwork and Vectorizer traced it in an instant. And this has got some great tools in it. There's a lot of things you can do with it. There's one here that just says remove background because it's got a white background. And now that artwork is compatible with Illustrator and Corel and all the other programs that you have out there. So you've got two programs here that what I wanted to demonstrate was the ease of use, right? Because we were talking about prices earlier, and that's all cool. I mean, I went through it. I've been in the sign business in print market for 35 years. I've seen exactly what you were talking about. One of the things that saved a lot of companies was improving their workflow. So it wasn't just pricing, it was like getting things done faster and easier. And it was also had to do with lowering costs. So, and what that means is if you have an employee that you have to spend a lot of time training, that's time you're not spending on selling and getting things done. It's worth it, but what if you could do some things for your employees that made it easier for them to do things? So you can save money that way. You get more done and you stay in business. That's my opinion on pricing, okay? So you're still gonna go through some of it and probably pretty soon, but it's just spend the time on things that are important. Okay, so that's that one. Okay, here's another program I want you to investigate. It does only one thing also. It's called PhotoZoom. So what this is about taking artwork that you need to leave as raster artwork. You don't want to vectorize it, but you need it to be cleaner. So you can see here a lot of jaggedness and so forth. This is actually the close-up of the finished result. And I want to show this one to you too. The programs I'm talking about here, these are not thousands of dollars. Okay, the Flexi program is like $69 a month, right? The Vector Magic is, you can actually buy it on tokens, you know how they do online, or you can buy it outright for like a couple of $100. So it's worth getting. So this one's called PhotoZoom. All right, so let's open that guy up. And I forgot to open it up earlier, so I'm gonna have to minimize a couple of things here. All right, there we go. Okay, so as I said, this does only one thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a picture of those dolls, that picture of the dolls. And this program, I'll blow it up for you. So this program, and it's a little hard to see the jaggedness on there because the screen's resolution is pretty high, but this is only about 7.5 by 5 inches and 100 pixels per inch, okay? And what you can do, what I like about this program is you can like split it so you can see when it works and when it doesn't. And all you do is just pick your method over here. And I'm gonna do something that's quite the opposite of what you're probably doing now, because I'm gonna back up a little bit. I'm gonna take this 7.5 inch piece of artwork and make it 10 feet. You ever tried to do that with artwork? Right? The pixels just get bigger and bigger. Okay, well, what this does is, I'm going to tell it, I want this, I'm just go down to inches here. I'm going to make this 120 inches wide. Okay? So what you're seeing right here is it's going through, and it's actually, I'll try to split the screen a little bit. It's a little hard to see with this resolution, but it's literally going through and removing the pixels and sharpening everything up, and it's doing it really fast. A lot of programs, when you resample, it takes a while, and you might have to like set it, try it again, and try it again until you get it right. But that's time. So again, from a cost standpoint, you're spending time that you could be using other ways. This program's very, very fast and gets it done immediately. And again, it's a very inexpensive program. You can use it online, or you can buy the version that you use right on your desktop, right? So those are some programs that I think you should take a close look at. It really will help. Now, when it comes to working with images that need adjustment, on the left-hand side is the original artwork that the customer sent to me, and on the right-hand side is the adjusted one. Where do you think I adjusted that? Photoshop? No. I didn't use Photoshop. I didn't use Illustrator. I know you were thinking Photoshop, aren't you? Right? Levels, curves, all that stuff. Kind of confusing, right? Got to train your, employee or whoever, or wife or brother or daughter or whatever to use it. This is a plugin that's absolutely free, okay? They don't charge, they're insane to not charge for this because it works so well. So I'm gonna open up Flexi to use this, and I'll open up that image. But this will work in Photoshop if you want to use it there, or any other program for that matter. All right, here's the image, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this image and I'm going to go to my Photoshop plugins. Flexi uses Photoshop plugins, so you can use it there. And I'm going to actually use this thing. Here's the original image. I'm going to say run that plugin. And I know this is hard to see again. I apologize. It's just the resolution of the monitor here. So let me see if I can see this down in here. Nope, I don't want to do that. I want to go forward. Oh, well, that's good enough. So you'll see it when it's done. So what's really cool is it's got this little histogram thing here, and it actually shows you the colors that are out of sync. So it kind of has a blue shade, grayish shade to it, and it shows you that these colors are out of sync. And then it has like 3 little eyedroppers, black, gray, and white. And it basically allows you to go in here and just pick on the image and say, I want to use his pants as the black point, and I want to use her dress as the white point. See what's happening? And then I just want to use the middle one here on the sidewalk, which is gray. And see how the colors kind of got overlapped? Which actually it shows me right away that this is a pretty neutral image now. So all I've got to do is apply it and just say, okay. So I went from the one that was like really bad to something that's very usable, right? So I know I did it on a photograph here, but that little program right there, it works a lot like the Photoshop levels and curves and things, just a little easier. You can actually adjust just like one channel. So like I know some of you were telling me that you were getting some prints, sometimes they have like a greenish tint to it or something, right, when you're printing it. It could be the image, and if it is, you can literally adjust just one channel of the color if you wanted to, instead of the whole image. So again, that's very fast and very easy to use. It's free. We all like that word. And you can load it into Flexi. If you're using the CAD-Link product, you can use it there. You can use it in a Photoshop, wherever you want to use it. And it's a free software, and I think you ought to get it. Here's one that's kind of cool. You know, it's really only been recently that Adobe has tried to make removing complex backgrounds easy, right? You've seen probably the beta. Anybody have the beta? Sure you do. I know you do. You're like me. You always download the betas and try it. And it's got this thing where you can isolate the subject, remove the background, and that kind of stuff. Okay, that's all cool. It's great. You know, use a little AI. This program right now is $29. Okay, it's called Photo Scissors. Now this program is so easy to use. It's just, I mean, for the price, come on. Let's open up that file. I'm going to open up a different one. Let's open up this one here. So I'm going to open up this lady. You know, it's got a little background behind it. This program uses the same kind of stuff, and it just automatically got rid of the background that fast. And for $29, you can afford that. It's quick. Look how fast it did it. And it did a very good job. It did much like, you know, Adobe products. It took care of all the wisps of hair and all of that. Here's what I really like about this. I told it to actually make a transparent background, but I'm going to actually come in here and say, you know what? Let me back up here a little bit. just to give you a little extra room to see here. I can actually now say, you know what, I'd like to add an image to the background. All right, so I go in here to my image and I pick the image I want, and it's going to add it in the background there. And then I can take, my original drawing if I want to, and move it around, resize it, do that. And if I were to zoom in really closely, can you see the wisp of hair here? I mean, it blends it like perfectly. Okay? I'm going to repeat it again, $29. They're insane, because, I mean, it's a great program. It does a lot more than that. There's some feathering you can do. There's some chokes you can do. I know those are all important things in the DTF business. This is a real. You think you could teach this to an employee in like 5 minutes? I think you could, right? Because it's easy to know. It's easy to use, all right? Go ahead, sir.
Is that $29 one purchase?
One purchase. Never pay again. You can, by the way, they'll try to get you to use it online for like tokens, but for $29 you get to use it permanently, which is, it's up to you. If you don't do that very much, just do the tokens. But that's a great program, man. I mean, I love that. And again, you can go over here on the left side and adjust it, like I missed a little bit of the ear. So you could go in there and, get in a little closer, that kind of thing. So this is a really great program to have, and I highly recommend that you add it to your set of tools. Here's another free one. This is one of those, and my adjustment monitor here is not going to give me too great a result, but that was the original on the left over here. And then on the right, I wanted much more saturation. But some of the issue, like with Photoshop, using Photoshop, is sometimes maybe you want to enhance the orange in the tiger, but you don't want to mess up the greens. You know what I'm saying? So you have to go in and maybe select certain areas and do a lot of control. I'm going to show you this one. I really like it. And again, I'll use the Flexi product as my base, but it'll work in anything that's got a Photoshop compatible capability. Here's my tiger. Okay, you can see that. So you just select it, and again, you just go to your filters, and this is just called C3C Color Wizard. It's going to bring up something that looks really complicated. Okay, so there's the thing. What it is over here, it gives you like so many things that you can do. But what I'm interested in doing is increasing the saturation of maybe just the oranges or the yellows or the reds. You get the way that works? So I literally can come in here to my sliders and say, I want to up the oranges. See what it's doing? I want to up the yellows. So what it's doing is it's showing you where it's going to apply what you're changing so that you don't apply it to stuff you don't want to apply it to. Right? And so once I finish that, I would just click OK on here, and this is going to, and it's very hard to see up there, but on my screen right here is like a bright tiger. So this is one where you can discreetly change certain values in your image to increase the color content of it. Because I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm new to DTF, but I think that color brightness is something that you want to go for, right? Like oversaturation, sometimes vividness, especially on like shirts that are darker and all that. So this is something that can help you with that, and discreetly, it can focus on a particular color, which is awesome, I think. Okay? All right, moving along here. All good so far? Going to use some of these tools, I hope? Okay, good. Great, I can't wait to see what you do next year when we do this again. Okay, now we get to the point where, all right, so we've been working with some images, and now maybe we've gotten some better starting points. Now we need to control that layer behind the image, which is the white layer, and we need to control things like transparency. And when it comes to ink options for white and for CMYK for that matter, it's not just the white, it's also maybe a percentage of white that we need to use, or sometimes I know in going online, people talk about half-toning the image, to kind of soften the final print so that's on the shirt, has a little more feel or hand. All that's capable of being done in a lot of the RIP softwares out there. So what I'm going to do is go right to the RIP software over here. And let me just pick, we'll pick that one. So most of the RIP softwares out there, you'll be able to add images directly to the RIP software. In the case of Flexi, it's 2 programs. It's the design side that I showed you the tracing for, and then it also includes the RIP software, which actually drives your printers. And so what we're trying to do in our business is we're trying to add more features to the RIP side because we know you're using programs like Corel and some of the other programs anyway. So we want to improve what we're doing here. So this is important for me to show you for 2 reasons. One is because I just want to show it to you. And the other reason is because I want some feedback from you. So let me rotate this real quick. Okay, so I've got my image here, and I have a little icon that I use, and this is actually for controlling the white ink and the transparency. I'm going to move this over so you can kind of see it. So that's what this area over here is. So first of all, I have my tiger here, and it looks like it's transparent in the background. I can actually click on a transparent button up here and just go show me the mask, and it just shows you immediately that, yeah, it's transparent, and that's what the white ink's going to look like. Is that a good feature? Okay, I like that feature too. So I think that's a nice way to kind of just quickly see what's going to be, where the white ink is going to go, okay? So that's pretty easy to use. There's some other things you can do in this particular RIP that I'm sure other RIPs do as well. For instance, there's the ability to create contour cuts. So I'm just going to do it on the black thing here. Doesn't show up well in the black, but basically if you're, one of the other things I think that will help you with your business, because again, you were talking about pricing, so diversity also helps you stay in business, right? So yes, I know you're focused on this DTF printing because it's very good profit now, and you can make some money at it, but I think that somewhere down the line, you'll probably have to do other things. Right? It's not, you can't focus on just that one thing because all the eggs are in one basket. You've heard that. So you might want to diversify a little bit. So maybe you're going to make decals, you know, that you're going to stick on windows. Maybe you're going to do some banners. I mean, there's people that want small banners, you know, and so you can still make money on banners. I mean, it's, you know, there's a lot of people that do it. What we did in my shop was, I mean, think about this. It's probably already happened to you. We did mostly vinyl cutting, okay? And then customers would come in and they would say, I'm a small plumbing business. Can I just get 3 shirts, right? Doesn't that happen? Which is why driving this business was small runs. And so, you know, we said, well, maybe we better get a printer, you know? So we got a printer. And we started doing maybe some, in that time we were just doing heat press vinyl, which really sucked, you know, because it was really hard, you know. And so we said, okay, so now we have a printer and we have a cutter, and then somebody came in and says, hey, I'm a church or whatever, can you do a big sign that goes in our yard? We never intended to do that, you know. It grew that way. And what was really nice about it was it gave us enough diversity that when I didn't have a lot of vinyl cutting business, I had printing business. And so that's why it might be a good idea to not only look at the software and the tools that you choose as something you need today, but think about, you know, what's it going to be like 3 or 4 or 5 years from now? What will I need to do to keep my business thriving? And I know, like I said, I understand from just going online, maybe a lot of the businesses in here today even are just working out of the house and want to keep it that way. That's all cool. But, you know, you probably will end up expanding somewhat. So that's going to influence what machines you buy and what software you're using, okay? All right. Let me go back to this. So that was just showing you a little bit about white options in here, right? But there's also, you know, that trend, as I say, to distinguish yourself from other shops by understanding your artwork and the process of DTF. So it's not just about the design and color pop and all that. It's also about, well, the shop, other side of the street there, when they print, their stuff is really hard. You can feel it. When I print, it's not so much. And what we used to do in my shop, literally, I'll give you a little background. In my hometown, we had sign shops all over the place. When I was in business in a sign shop, which was 20 years ago, they were popping up all over. Very similar, right? They were just popping up all over the place. We probably had 3 sign shops within a mile of my business, right? And it got to that point where we were competing on price, right? So everybody was like, oh, my price, I can do it for cheaper, that kind of stuff. So the business turned into, how am I different than those other 2 shops within a mile, right? And it also turned into, do you like me better? Okay? So a lot of it was relationship driven. A lot of the folks would come to me because they maybe had taken a job to another shop and they just weren't happy with how they were treated. So make sure that in this pricing affair that you were talking about earlier, that you're really treating customers correctly, because that's what they're going to remember, is how they were treated. They are going to remember price because people are just cheap, but they will remember relationships, and that can really help you save your business. So this is another plugin I found that I really kind of liked. It's called India Ink. It's really a cool plugin. It works really well. And what it does is it not only creates the halftones that you're looking for, but it can also create halftones that have patterns to them. In other words, the halftone becomes like part of the artwork that you're creating. So you're creating the soft feel, but you're using a pattern that's kind of cool, right? So you're doing 2 things at once. You're creating that good feel, and you're different than the guy down the street that's just doing dots. You got me? So that's why I like this. I like this India Ink thing. Let's take a look and see here. All right. Let me start my program over so it's a little bigger. All right. And by the way, for those of you that are familiar with Flexi, this is the edition that we'll be releasing soon. This is brand new.
Is it just called Flexi or Flexi?
It's called Flexi, Flexi. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so let's open a file here. And let's do maybe this flag here. All right, nice file, not too bad. All right, so we want to print this, something like that. Maybe we're going to shape it somehow, I don't know. I'll show you a little bit of that in a minute. But let's take that bitmap and let's go over here to these plugins. And there's one that's made by a Flaming Pear. What a name, Flaming Pear. It's called India Ink, really cool. And again, this is I think it's like $11 when you buy it, so it's very affordable. But take a look at this thing. I like this. So let me pull this over a little bit so you can see the stripes a little better there. So this is actually doing a halftone right now, and I've got it set to overlay, because this is, if you don't do it overlay, if you just do normal, this is like the pattern that it's using over the top of the image, right? Now, isn't that a really different halftone looking pattern? Right? It's not just the dots. Now, you can do the regular halftone in this thing, but I just want to show you. This thing has what they call styles. Look at all these different styles in here. You want to do bubbles? Make it look like bubbles. Do you want to do, I have no idea what some of these are. Maze, right? I mean, I can just scroll through them. I like just scrolling through them. There's one that looks like basketball, right? Stuff like that. So these are all different patterns that you're using in this particular graphic. So if I do the overlay, what's nice is it allows me to see how that pattern is going to look on the actual artwork that I'm creating, which is kind of cool. I'm going to turn overlay off, and I just want you to, I'm going to click OK. This is the demo version. So that's kind of like a very odd looking pattern, right? But what this stresses is, and what I wanted to stress with this is, the guy down the street, there's two things he can't do. He can't make that pattern again, right? Unless he has the artwork, which I ain't going to give to the customer, right? So yeah, he can't make that pattern. That means the customer has to come back to me when they want more of these, right? So another little thing that I'm trying to teach here is if you make your artwork unique enough, then the customers have to come back to you for that particular job, because that's what we did in our sign shop. Is we tried to make things just a little different enough that the guy down the street couldn't reproduce it without really thinking about it and working hard to do it. And that eliminated some of the price gouging, you know, because they came back to me and I'm like, yeah, I'm still the same price, you know, sorry. You know, if you want to go down the street, you can, but the idea is that he's going to charge you for setup and he's going to do all this stuff, and I'm not, because you already did it with me. So I kind of like that. It's called India Ink. And again, it's from a company called Flaming Pear. Really nice, nicely done software, I think.
There's a plugin that can be used in Photoshop as well?
Yes, all the plugins that I'm showing are all Photoshop compatible. So that's what I'm trying to preach. Obviously we sell Flexi, but if you're using Photoshop or more than likely.
Flexi and Photoshop.
Okay, cool. You can use them in both then. And you know, you can use it in CAD-Link, you can use it in whatever compatible program for Photoshop plugins. Yeah. So choose your weapon. Cool. Everybody good with that? Okay. All right, here's a couple of other things just to show you really quickly about being unique. And I'm just going to do a simple example here. Okay. I'm going to take these little stars and I'm just going to paint them some different colors. What color should I use in here? Purple? Yeah, why not? All right. So here's a unique thing in this software that's kind of cool. You can't really see the difference between that red and that purple there. Let's make it green. Yeah. That kind of sucks, doesn't it?
Orange.
Yeah, maybe we'll go with orange. I don't know. Anyway, the point is that in this program, which is the Flexi program, and I'm sure CAD-Link has the same thing, you can create anything you want in the software, right? And this could be bitmaps, it could be patterns or whatever. Just put it in the software down here. And what's really nice is you can take that pattern and just right-click in your swatch table down here and say, define that as a pattern, okay? And what that does for you is now any vector that you've got, whether it's lettering or whatever, you've created this unique pattern that you can fill the vector up with. So that could be, you know, like lettering, right? Create you a unique looking thing and then just make it into a pattern, and then it just repeats itself over and over. And what's cool is, again, once you've created this kind of pattern down in here, you can just double click on it and it will allow you to change the size. It's going to allow you to change the size, the spacing, all the stuff that you need. So it's like a tile. It's literally a repeating pattern, which I think is kind of cool, right? Now I'm going to take another one here and show you another free plugin. I know you like these, right? Yeah, I do. Okay. Let's do, I don't know. We'll take the flag again, I guess. You don't really need to use a bitmap. You can create a blank bitmap, but I'm just going to use one anyway that's easier. And I'm going to go down here. This is kind of a cool one here. It's from a gentleman that doesn't make this anymore. His name is Vander Lee. It's called Camouflage. And I like this because it's real easy to make a camouflage pattern. So you can choose the colors down here. You can choose the randomness of it, whatever the case is. When you click OK, it basically applies that to the bitmap. It's probably thinking about it. There you go. So now I've made like a camouflage look. And again, the stress here is that was really easy to understand. All I had to do was choose the colors and the randomness. And I've made something camouflage, which now I can use for, I don't know, maybe I type in some lettering here. Just going to type in some lettering and let's make it nice and thick, huh? I know all of you probably use impact, right? good old impact. All right, I'm going to paint a color so I can see it. So I'm just going to drop it on there and then grab both of those. And this is what you teach your employee. You right click and you choose mask and it's done, right? So now you've got like clicked it off, right? So you don't have to learn stuff a whole lot. That's the point I'm trying to make on all these tools. Pick tools that are going to improve your artwork for printing, take care of the white ink background like halftones and so forth, but that are easy to understand, right? It's very important because, as I say, as you grow and the business becomes more competitive, you need to get more out the door. That's some of the ways you solve. If you have to lower your price, you do more, right? Okay, let's go back here. Now, Flexi does have, I don't know if you can see that, but our RIP software that we're making also has options for doing like some standard patterns. These little, you can control the size of these little dots. That's basically what it's doing, is it's telling the print to skip printing in those areas. So you can create kind of like a halftone textured look to it without having to understand halftones and so forth. You just turn it on and tell it what size dot you want. You can offset them, do anything you need there, which is kind of cool. Okay, so I'm reaching near the end here, and this is the last one that's my heartfelt passion, which is teaching, right? I love doing this. And I love it so much that the company that hired me, SAi, which is the makers of Flexi, they said, we want you to do it for us, right? But don't limit yourself to us. Think about that. You know, like in other words, are you telling me that if there's a guy that has CAD-Link and they're having issues and stuff, I can help them too? Yes. We want you to help our customers first, but yeah, you can do that, right? That's kind of how they put it to me. Well, with that kind of vision, right, I said, okay, I'll come work for you and I'll do this. So the first thing I did was I started an online community, okay? And this is just it's sort of like a Facebook page, but it's private. It is subscription driven. It's like $10 a month. But it puts you in a place where my advisors that are experts can monitor the site. It's not just random people, right? Like on Facebook, it's literally people that know what they're doing, so they're in the market specifically. Plus, it allows you to talk to other users, and it allows me as a trainer to hear your questions specifically, and allows me to actually specifically make training videos and things that I post in that community. So it's a really nice way to kind of get together and talk about things and without exposing yourself to the public, right? Because on Facebook, you're public. You know, they know all your business. So in there it's private. So that's one thing. So the second thing I did was e-courses. So I created a bunch of e-courses, and I want to go here and show you this. This is the actual site that I made for SAi. So it's e-courses, community, virtual training, and on-site. I'm going to click on e-courses for a minute. You see this presentation right here? That first one? This is the one I just did here. So if you want to watch it all again and get the links to all those plugins that were free and that kind of stuff, you can go here and you can watch it all again and click on the plugins and download them, and I even show you how to load them up, right? So the name of the site is just, the easiest way to find it is actually to go to Adendo, A-D-E-N-D-O, which is Portuguese for append or appendix, right? Like training is like an afterthought. So it's going to Adendo.com, and then you'll get access to these places. And so in addition to the e-courses and the community, I'll show you some of our trainers. And by the way, I have to say, I'm jealous of DTF printing because they do a great job of training, you know, with posting videos and stuff, don't you think?
Oh, yes.
Well, let her know. Come on. As trainers and people that do this, we thrive on that stuff. We love to hear those claps, don't we? Yeah, so, you know, get training from them as well. But this is where it's kind of like a way, if you look at some of these guys here, and we're changing some of products that they support. But let's just take a look at one of these guys. I don't know. We'll look at Chris here. He's been around for about 30 years. So he actually down here in his bio will tell you what he's an expert at, you know, and it's not just Flexi, it's usually other programs and so forth. So he's familiar with Mimakis and Epsons and whatever this is. He's done vehicle wraps, all that kind of stuff. So what you do is you would go to the site and you would say, man, I'm really struggling with this topic or this education thing or this this job. And then you will be matched with the right advisor through my training manager, and then you talk to him. You guys work out some number of hours that you want from him, and he comes and trains you. And then finally, we do on-site training where we actually, you know, sometimes the best way is to learn in your shop, right? On your equipment, with your program, with your employees. So we just put on a guy. I know this is maybe not what you're doing right now, but we just put on a guy that's an expert in vehicle wraps. And so his name is Dan Nava, and he's already gone to a couple of shops. And the advantage is, it's like they do vehicle wrap like certifications, but you're like in a group of 20 people, so it's kind of intimidating. This is in your shop. You know, he goes to your shop, he sets you up, ask him questions, and it's your employees and your equipment and your printer. So that's just the start of what we're doing here at Addendo. This was a great show for me because I got a lot of information about what your learning levels are and what you need. So this is now going to help me to further some of the learning tools that I can provide to you. And even if it's not me, it may be others too, because our platform allows anyone to post videos and so forth as a trainer. So this is something that I'm working on very hard to get on your table as well, so that you can use it as a way to keep learning, right? So in conclusion, I want to just, first of all, besides thanking you for letting me do this, my goal originally was to show you some simple tools, inexpensive, some of them free, that you can add to your workflow, whatever it is, whatever programs you're using, to help you become faster so that you can actually have more production. You know, get the production going, and that way when the pricing and all the other issues come up, you've got some kind of workflow that's easier and better than maybe the shop down there that didn't come today. Right? Is that good? All right, that's my presentation. What do you guys think? Good? Awesome. Thank you. Got a question here? Can I answer a question?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Let's get a quick question.
Yes, sir.
We've utilized Flexi before as a RIP software
Yeah.
to print to our DTF printers.
Sure.
And one of the things that we haven't been able to figure out is a variable white under black and under transparent pixel. Is there a simple fix to that?
There is, actually. It's called variable white. I'll show you. Yeah, let me just show you here. This is a little bitmap here. And there's actually a setting down here. It lets you choose solid or variable on the bottom. So if I choose variable, and then I go to my preview, I'll just use this one. So what that would do is that would allow you to do, like where the dark lines are would be more white, and where the lighter colors are would be less white.
I want to do less white under the darker colors. Like under black, be able to have like 50% white.
Sure. So you would go back here, and instead of variable under, you would do inverted variable under. And if you do the inverted variable under, then it does the opposite.
And is there a way also under transparent, semi-transparent pixels?
For doing like a less white.
Less white under semi-transparent pixels.
Yeah, that's probably going to end up being the variable here, is my guess. One of those two is going to probably do that. There's a couple of other options. We probably don't have time to talk about them, but there's some that where you can control where to place the white.
Right.
That
is design specific, or can you set that up as a default so that everything that comes in is going to have that as
Yeah, so up here at the top, there's something called presets. So if, once you establish the right workflow for that method that you're after, then you would save it as a preset up here, name it whatever you want. And then when you send the job to print, you just tell it, I want to use this preset, and it inserts all the color management and all the variables for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, good question, thank you. Any others? Great. Thank you again so much for letting me do this, appreciate it.